Hello, my name is Paul Jarvis. I'm an EC with no employment. I've been here 8 years. I'm just entering the 9th, and I'm a mother, a wife. I'm a member of the New South Wales Police Disability Advisory Council. With the fire brigade, but I don't put out fires. My father was Indigenous, came from out west. My disability is I had a car accident when I was about 19, and I lost one leg immediately and the other one about 2 years later, and then that sort of triggered a muscular dystrophy type thing, which was quite rare, and I was given a prognosis of 24, but here I am, and I'm in a chair now. I've been in a chair for about 9 years. But before then I used to be able to walk around and do things. I had artificial limbs. Now when we were little, my dad was a shearer and we used to go to different shearing sheds, but we didn't camp with the others. We used to have to camp away because we were yellow fellas, and in them days there was a great fear that the children would be taken away. It was thought if they were taken from their Indigenous background and put into white European upbringing, that they would lose their savage ways. But it didn't work. It just led to a lot of trauma for a lot of people. And we would camp under bridges or well away from the other people. I had a car accident when I was in second year at nursing. I got all this special exemption and that to do nursing because I didn't have the right education, and we got in, and then I had a car accident, lost one leg. Then I married not long after that, and my husband and I, we went to Western Australia to live up north in the Kimberleys, and then my other leg was bad, and when we went to the hospital, we weren't allowed to go to that hospital because they did not see Indigenous people there. It was owned by a mining company. And eventually I was flown out on the Flying Doctor to Perth to have treatment, but it was a bit late then. And even in another place where I used to live, women were not allowed to go to the hospital to have babies. They had them in a tent out near the rubbish tip, the Indigenous women. And so it's only, I think, about 1959 they were allowed into the hospitals, and then in Western Australia, because it was a mining company hospital, they made the rules. So they used the rule that it was for their workers, even though my husband was one of their workers. When my baby was born, Jamie, it was my husband went to Western Australia to make money, and we brought her home and everything here in New South Wales, and then he went to Western Australia to make money, so we could pay the house off. And the welfare said that because I had a disability, I could not look after the baby and all that, and they just kept coming around, and finally I decided to go and live over there with him and rent the house out. And someone came and said, they're going to take the baby from you. They thought we were flying out. And what we had to do was book a ship, a boat. We went on a boat around, and we left a week earlier so they wouldn't get my baby. And my friend, she had a disability. She was a dwarf, and they took her baby as soon as she was born from her. There was no question about her being able to keep it. Like when we were children growing up, you had to be a good fighter. I was the best, one of the best fighters, because always jumping in to protect my brothers and sisters, and you had to fight for everything. And unfortunately, led to punch-ups with the boys, and that. But when they learned to respect us, they left us alone. But we had to physically fight for that. Well, now I'm horrified if my children did that, heaven forbid. And we also have a lot of foster children, and I think our youngest we adopted two. The youngest one is just turned 26 and he's got a good job there, and that's all. But fostering is really good. It brings out... we left with an empty nest syndrome, but at one stage we had 8 children in the place, and it was just wonderful. People, because they're in a wheelchair, people will refuse to look at you. And I often think I could rob a bank and no one would know, because they would know what my wheelchair looked like, what colour it was, but they would not know what I look like. And often my children now, if I go into Big W, they'll ask the lady at the shop, "Did a lady in a wheelchair go here?" "Yes, a red one." "Yeah." But if they went up and said, "Did a lady in glasses go through here?" "No, I don't know," or "A lady with no clothes on go through here?" "I'm not sure," but they know the wheelchair. They look at the wheelchair, they will not look at you, the majority of people. I had a client who was with a severe hearing impairment. She wanted to work in a library. We tried a library here and we got a really bad result. And then the hospital had a library and they said, the lady was really nice. She said, "Yes, I'll give her a try. And you just come up with her and bring her up and see." Anyway, Angela and I went up. We met the lady in the foyer and she looked at Angela and said, "You didn't tell me she was in a wheelchair." I said, "No, I'm Paul. This is Angela. She's hearing impaired." "Oh, okay." Yes, my working life has been quite interesting. I mean, sometimes I've had to work for 2 or 3 months for nothing to prove I could do the job. But one time I went for a job as a supervisor and I was told, yes, I went for the interview, "Yeah, but you did really well, yes." Then came the time that when I went to start work, she said, "Oh, over here, we're going to put you over here. You didn't get the supervisor's job, but we've thought this out really carefully and we've decided to give you this job, sorting buttons and putting the buttons in." And I told her where to put her buttons and I even offered to put them there. But it was most embarrassing. I was humiliated. And then another time I was working at a club. I'd been there 3 months. I would close up, do the till, do everything myself. I happened to mention, or someone came in and we were talking about Indigenous. "Yes, I'm Indigenous." I was never left alone in the place after that, never allowed to lock up, watched continuously all the time if I went near the till, like I was going to rob the place. So I just sort of left there and moved on. But yeah, and even with your disability, people assume that you can't do it or you won't be able to do it. There's going to be problems here or we can't accommodate you. But at one stage I was driving taxis and then someone complained about a disabled person driving taxis. And the taxi department said no, I couldn't, and I challenged it. We had a big court case and I beat them then. And then they wanted cost, and then the judge went with me again. So I didn't get many shifts after that, but I still got there. The changes that Nova has made in people's lives. People would be in a shelter workshop now if it wasn't for Nova. Like even I probably would be, oh heaven forbid, I don't know where I'd be, but I started as a Nova client and just moved on from there. But what Nova has done and the changes in people's lives Nova has made is incredible. People who never thought they would work, who never thought they would have a decent job, are actually earning a wage and being a part of the community, and to see that is a wonderful thing. And it reflects back on their family and everything. I saw a young man that I got a job for about 5 or 6 years ago. He's married now and got a baby, and he's still got that job. So it is a wonderful change that Nova makes to lives.